On my 27th birthday, the whole room smelled like money. Crystal glasses, heavy perfume, and laughter that didn't belong to me. My grandfather lifted his champagne and smiled. "So, Evelyn, how are you spending your $3.4 million trust fund?" The world tilted. I blinked once. Twice. What trust fund? Forks went still. My mother's hand froze mid-gesture. My father's throat moved like he'd swallowed a stone. Then Grandpa, calm as ever, asked, "Where did the money go?" His questions split the air. And in that cold silence, under chandeliers and painted smiles, I realized this wasn't a celebration. It was an execution. My name is Evelyn Hart. Until that night, I believed I understood my family. I was raised to think success was measured in silence. Smile at the table, don't ask too many questions, and never talk about money. I lived in San Francisco now, far from their marble floors and polished cars, working as a freelance designer out of a small Mission District apartment. The walls peeled and the pipes hissed, but it was mine. Nights, I'd sketch logos while the city hummed. Coffee cooled beside overdue bills. My parents, James and Victoria, were just 20 minutes away in Marin County. 4 bedrooms, a pool, a Tesla each. We talked, but never about real things. Calls started with, "How's work?" and ended before I could answer. The last time they'd actually surprised me was my college graduation. I walked the stage carrying $70,000 in student loans and a diploma I'd earned alone. They hugged me, handed me a wrapped box, and said, "We're so proud." Inside, a hardcover. Financial literacy for young adults. I smiled for the photos, then cried over the sink that night, realizing they had no intention of helping. Still, I kept my head down. Paid rent, skipped dinners, took every freelance job I could. When friends posted vacation photos, I laughed it off. "One day," I'd say. "One day I'll make enough to breathe." A week before turning 27, my boss called me into his glass office. His face said everything before he spoke. "I'm sorry, Evelyn. We're downsizing." I boxed my things, took the bus home, and sat on the couch with Madison, my roommate, my anchor, my only constant for 2 years. "Your parents will help, right?" she asked. I laughed, bitter and hollow. "They'll probably recommend a budgeting app." That night, I called anyway. "Mom, I lost my job." "Oh, that's too bad, honey," she said, keyboard tapping in the background. "But you'll figure it out. You always do." "I'm behind on rent, Mom." "I don't know how." "Well, maybe this will teach you to save better. Anyway, we're making reservations for your birthday dinner. Atelier Crenne, 7:30. Don't be late." "Mom, that place is $300 a plate." She laughed. "Don't be cheap, Evelyn. It's your birthday. Dress nicely." The line went dead before I could say goodbye. I stared at my reflection in the dark TV screen. Tired eyes, split ends, lipstick fading. $300 a plate," I whispered. "That's half my grocery budget." Madison looked up. "You don't have to go." "Yeah, I do. In my family, skipping dinner is worse than blasphemy." I circled the date on the calendar like someone marking their day with the firing squad. The week dragged toward my birthday like a slow leak. I stayed busy, resumes, portfolio updates, but rejection emails piled up faster than I could open them. My savings dipped under 4 digits. Every hallway sound made me flinch, half expecting the landlord's knock. By Friday, I'd stopped sleeping. Madison found me at 2 a.m. hunched over my laptop. "Eve, go to bed," she said softly. "I can't. If I stop, I'll think about it." "About what?" "That dinner. Them pretending everything's perfect while I'm falling apart." "What? 3. He right?" She squeezed my shoulder. "Then make it the last time they treat you like that." I didn't know what she meant yet, but the words stayed. Saturday came bright and sharp. I stood at my closet, staring at the same 3 options. Jeans too faded, a blazer missing a button, and a black dress I'd bought 3 years ago for a job interview. I chose the dress. It still fit, mostly. On the bus to the restaurant, I watched tourists laugh, couples hold hands, a kid grin while ice cream dripped down his arm. I envied the simplicity of those moments. Atelier Cren shimmered gold and glass. My parents were already seated, my mother in red silk, my father in a tailored navy suit. The table glittered with wine glasses and silverware I couldn't name. Happy birthday, sweetheart. Ma Mère kissed me. Her perfume stung my eyes. Dad smiled. You look tired. Rough week? Lost my job, I said quietly. He nodded like I'd mentioned the weather. That happens. You'll bounce back. They launched into stories. Europe, Tesla autopilot, renovating the guest bathroom. My words dissolved in the noise. I kept glancing at the door, counting minutes. I was supposed to feel celebrated, but I felt like a prop in their perfect picture. Then the door opened. A ripple moved through the room as my grandfather walked in. Robert Hart, silver-haired, tall, every step measured. The maitre d' nearly tripped trying to escort him. My mother's smile faltered. Dad, what are you doing here? She asked, voice an octave too high. Celebrating my granddaughter, of course. His eyes found mine. Happy birthday, Evelyn. He hugged me, real, solid, warm, and I took my first full breath all night. I didn't know you were coming, I said. Wouldn't miss it, he replied. He sat by me, ordered a whiskey neat, and made polite conversation, but there was an edge in his tone, as if he already knew something none of us did. Then he raised his glass and said the words that changed everything. The whiskey caught the light as my grandfather lifted his glass. So, Evelyn, he said casually, how do you spend your $3.4 million trust fund? The air shattered. I heard my heartbeat before the silence itself. I blinked. Once. Twice. What trust fund? Forks froze midair. My mother's smile cracked like porcelain. My father's throat worked like he'd swallowed glass. Grandpa's expression didn't change. He leaned back. The trust I set up when you were born. Your parents were supposed to transfer it when you turned 25. My mother laughed too fast. Oh, Dad, you must be mistaken. Victoria, he said quietly. Don't. It was the first time I'd ever seen her go still. He turned to the waiter. Private room, please. Minutes later, we were ushered away, plates half-eaten, champagne forgotten. The door closed with a soft, final click. Inside, the air felt colder. Grandpa's assistant, Michelle, was already there, tablet open. A man in a tailored suit waited beside her. Michael Anderson, Grandpa said, my attorney. This won't take long. I just want clarity. Michael opened a folder and slid a stack of papers toward me. Miss Hart, this is the trust account under your name. Initial deposit, $1 million. Current value, given market growth, should be approximately $3.4 million. My fingers hovered above the paper. Should be? He nodded grimly. As of this morning, the balance is $200,000. The word struck like a physical blow. 200,000. 25 years of savings, investments, interest, gone. Grandpa's gaze never left my parents. Explain. Dad wiped his forehead. We used some of it, just to cover the mortgage when the market crashed. That's over 3 million, James, Grandpa said evenly. Mom's hands trembled around her clutch. We were managing it for her future. We didn't want her to waste it. I laughed, short, sharp, ugly. You mean like waste it on rent, student loans, or food? Mom turned to me, eyes glassy. Sweetheart, we only wanted what's best for you. You gave me a financial literacy book for graduation, I said, voice cracking, while you were draining my account. Grandpa raised a hand. The room quieted. Enough. He turned to Michelle. List the withdrawals. She read, voice mechanical. Mortgage payoff, $450,000. Vehicle purchases, 2 Tesla Model S, $280,000. Home renovation, $320,000. Investment in Victoria Hart Real Estate, $500,000. Marked total loss. Each line landed like another hit. Then she paused. Purchase of property in Malibu, $1.8 million. Currently registered under James and Victoria Hart. I stared. A beach house? My father's face went slack. It was an investment. It was theft, Grandpa said quietly. From your own daughter. Silence. The air vent hummed. Finally, Grandpa pushed back his chair. Give me the keys. Mom's eyes darted to her purse. She hesitated, then set a small ring, 2 keys and a fob on the table. Her hand shook. Grandpa slid them to me. These are yours. 2 years late. They were still warm from her palm when I picked them up. My keys, my apartment, my life they'd kept from me. Mom started to cry, soft, practiced sobs. Please, Dad, don't do this. We're family. Family doesn't steal from family, he said. You'll hear from my lawyers tomorrow. They left slowly, as if gravity had doubled. The door shut and the air felt lighter, emptier. Grandpa turned to me. Evelyn, I'll have a full audit done. They'll face legal consequences, but pressing charges, that decision is yours. I looked down at the keys, metal cold against my skin. For years, I'd begged for scraps of approval. Now I held proof that their love had a price tag. I need time, I whispered. Take it, he said. But know this. They were planning to run. Michelle found tickets to Costa Rica, purchased 3 days ago. My chest tightened. They came to dinner knowing this was goodbye. He nodded, and they smiled while doing it. That night, I left with the keys in my pocket and a storm in my chest. Outside, city lights blurred through the fog. Madison was waiting up. When I told her everything, she stared like I'd recited a crime scene. They stole from you, she whispered. My own parents, I said. Not just money. Years. I looked out at the sleeping city and felt something break, and something else begin. I wouldn't scream. I wouldn't beg. I would take everything back, quietly. 3 days after dinner, I was summoned to my grandfather's office, a glass tower downtown that looked like it could slice the sky. I'd barely slept since the reveal. They were planning to run, looped in my head. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw my mother's trembling hand dropping the keys. My father's silence, its own confession. Michelle met me in the lobby, immaculate as always, tablet in hand. They're here, she said softly. Robert wanted you present. Both of them? She nodded. They came to negotiate. Negotiate? The word tasted wrong. The elevator opened on the top floor. Glass walls, leather chairs, the faint scent of cedar and old money. Grandpa sat straight-backed behind his desk. Across from him, my parents. Dad looked 10 years older. Mom tried to smile, but the gloss cracked at the corners. Evelyn, Grandpa said, steady. Sit. No one spoke for a moment. An antique clock ticked on the wall. Finally, Dad cleared his throat. We didn't mean for it to go this far. We were just desperate, trying to stay afloat. You wouldn't understand. I understand greed, Grandpa cut in. I built an empire recognizing it. Mom reached forward, tears starting. We love her, Dad. We were going to tell her eventually. When? Grandpa asked. After you finished selling the Malibu house? Silence. Michael Anderson stepped forward, setting a stack of bank statements on the desk. The forensic audit is complete. Every transaction traced, every property connected. We've recovered approximately $2 million through asset seizures and forced sales. My father rubbed his temples. $2 million? We already— You didn't recover it, Michael said sharply. We did, through the law. I watched like I was outside my own body. Every lie peeled away, every secret dragged into light. Michelle handed me a folder. Inside were photos of my parents' purchases: the Malibu property, luxury cars, jewelry receipts, cruise bookings, all funded by my trust. You should see what they valued more than you, she said softly. This is enough to press criminal charges, isn't it? I asked. Yes, Michael replied. Felony financial fraud and breach of fiduciary duty, up to 10 years. Mom gasped. Evelyn, you wouldn't. Please. Her voice broke like a child's, but I didn't flinch. I didn't do this, I said. You did. My father leaned forward, desperation cracking his veneer. We made mistakes, but prison? We're your parents. Parents protect, I said quietly. They don't pillage. Grandpa turned to me. It's your choice, sweetheart. The skyline blurred behind the glass. Papers, trembling hands, the weight of 27 years. Dinners where I smiled through silence. Student loans I paid with ramen and overtime. Birthdays where they sent flowers, but not love. I met my mother's eyes. You left me with nothing. Now you have exactly that. The words hit like thunder. Mom's shoulders collapsed. Dad looked away, jaw clenched. Grandpa nodded once to Michael. File the necessary motions. Dad, please, Mom whispered. She's your granddaughter. And you are my daughter, he said. But there's a difference between blood and character. She began to sob, for what they were losing, not for me. As the lawyers finalized papers, I went to the window. The city stretched below, cranes, cars, lives pulsing forward. I pressed my hand to the glass, the cold anchoring me. For the first time in years, I wasn't small. Behind me, I heard Grandpa say, keys, deeds, accounts, all transferred back to Evelyn, effective immediately. When I turned, Michelle handed me a slim envelope. These are your property documents. Pacific Heights is fully under your name now. I nodded. Thank you. Mom's voice barely rose above a whisper. You'll regret this. I looked at her, at the woman who taught me to keep my voice soft, my needs smaller, my worth tied to approval. No, I said. For once, I won't. They left soon after, escorted by security. The door closed. The silence that followed wasn't heavy anymore. It was clean. Grandpa stood and came to me. You did the right thing. I don't feel good, I admitted. Justice rarely feels good, he said, but it's necessary. He placed a steady hand on my shoulder. You're not alone anymore, Evelyn. You never were. That night, I went to see the apartment, the one I'd never been allowed to step inside. Pacific Heights was quiet. Glass, steel, bay views. The doorman recognized my name immediately. Mr. Hart said you'd be coming. When I opened the door, the smell of expensive candles hit first. Everything was staged. Neutral tones, marble counters, a coffee table book on modern design, a stranger's life furnished with my money. I wandered through the rooms, fingertips brushing walls and furniture, the evidence. On the counter sat a lease folder, tenants' names, rent deposits. My parents had been collecting for years. I sank onto the couch and laughed, raw, until the laughter broke into tears. Not grief anymore. Release. Madison arrived 20 minutes later with takeout. You're really here, she whispered, eyes wide. I'm home, I said. She looked around and smiled. So, how does justice feel? Quiet, I said, and heavier than I thought. We ate on the floor, cartons spread out like old times. Beyond the windows, the bay shimmered with city lights. Somewhere behind me, the keys gleamed on the counter, reminding me of everything stolen and everything I'd taken back. Before bed, I texted Grandpa. Moved in. Thank you for fighting when I couldn't. His reply arrived a minute later. You always could, Evelyn. You just needed proof. I stared until the screen dimmed. proof of what they'd done and who I'd become. A month passed before I could sleep without waking, braced for another secret. But the investigation moved quickly. My parents' assets, the Teslas, the Malibu house, even the country club membership, were liquidated. Proceeds flowed back into my account under my name, where they belonged. They moved into a roadside motel in Oakland. Grandpa told me quietly, "They're paying restitution. $500 a month, court-ordered." I didn't feel joy, just balance. I settled into Pacific Heights. Each morning, fog rolled over the bay like breath. I sat on the balcony with coffee, laptop open, freelancing again. Clients came quickly. Referrals from Grandpa's network, startups needing branding. For once, I wasn't scrambling, I was building. Madison came by every weekend. We hung art, unpacked boxes, made the place ours. "You know," she laughed, "you could buy this whole building now." "I don't want more things," I said. "Just more peace." Weeks became months. My name was on everything. Bank accounts, titles, deeds. But it wasn't the money that settled me. It was owning my life. One evening, Grandpa invited me to dinner. He looked frailer but lighter, like a weight had lifted. "You did what I couldn't," he said. "You drew a line," I smiled. "You taught me how." Driving home through the city, I passed the restaurant where it began. Through the glass, people were laughing, toasting, unaware of how fast a family can fracture over greed. I didn't stop. Some chapters should stay closed. I learned that blood doesn't always equal loyalty. My parents stole my future and called it love. I took it back piece by piece, quietly, legally, completely. Now, when I look out over the bay, I don't see what I lost. I see what I rebuilt. If you've ever been betrayed by the people you trusted most, remember this. You can still start over, stronger than before. And if stories like mine hit close to home, stay with me. The next one might feel uncomfortably familiar. Hit subscribe and don't look back.